A race against time as conditions threaten to flare up once again.
We're looking to lock it down over the next couple of days, but it unfortunately only takes one log to cross a trail that could spark things up again.
It's controlled but not contained. Crews worked tirelessly through the night to gain the upper hand. Richardson Road residents under attack yesterday braced for the worst.
We're just sitting here praying. I get really sort of quite ill, I'm telling you, every time I smell smoke. So you've got to stay. You've got to stay. You've got too much money on the ground. And if you don't stay and fight it, you haven't given it half a chance.
So far, it's burnt through 2,000 hectares of bushland. Under threat for the past 2 days, today Newcastle Airport was again closed. The next 48 hours is critical and the RFS is hitting the fireground with everything, from aerial support to frontline efforts.
Hot temperatures and winds coming later on in the week, so the crews again today strengthening those containment lines, making sure that we've got a good edge around the fire.
It's such an unpredictable situation here on the ground. Just moments ago we were up by the fire crews filming a back-burning operation when the conditions changed. Things escalated very quickly and we were told we had to get out.
So the main fire has just taken a run through some unburnt area of that main fire. Thankfully the crews had started to put in this backburn which started pushing the fire back towards itself. Some very good work by our firefighters here to gain control of that situation. It was a bit touch and go for a while there.
Conditions are set to deteriorate over the next few days.
Come, I think, Friday, where it's going to be very hot and we're going to get, I think, northwesterly winds, that's when it'll come back to us through the bush. That'll be worse. I think that's what I'm more worried about at the end of the week.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News. It's a big shake-up that, according to the state government, we needed.
Public transport utilisation was down under 4%, so we've got to get people using public transport.
It's a big change, first big change in the network since 2008, so we understand that it can be daunting for people.
Daunting and tiresome for people like Dennis Nichols. The Stockton resident travels to the Mater Hospital's oncology unit for lengthy treatments. Under the old timetable, Dennis would catch a 7 a.m. ferry to Newcastle, then jump on the 7:16 a.m. 226 bus, which would drop him out the front of the Mater Hospital. As of today, it's a completely different scenario.
Be required to catch the 7:07 ferry across to Newcastle, then pick up number 13 bus that leaves at 18 minutes past 7. Take that down to Newcastle West at Spotlight, rise there at 7:30, then wait till 7:55 to pick up the number 24 bus to drop me at that Edith Street bus stop at the front of the Mater. The old timetable, it took me 39 minutes total travel time. The new travel time will take an hour and 27 minutes.
There are alternative buses, but they stop more than 500 metres away from the hospital's entrance.
Elderly people, people with disabilities, disadvantaged people, they need the services, and that's what they've got to look after.
We've heard about some of those changes are going to be more difficult for some people, but look, 1,200 extra services, including a lot more on the weekend. So I'd ask people to give it a go.
One service that is sure to win fans are new on-demand buses running across certain Lake Macquarie suburbs. Passengers simply book a bus using a new app.
It's something that'll fit in with my schedule instead of the reverse, so it's going to save me heaps of time.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
It's truly a sight for sore eyes. An emergency top-up of the Hunter wetlands has brought back dozens of egrets, swamp hens and ibises. Less than a week ago, this section was bone dry. Nesting sites abandoned, 40-degree heat proving too much for the chicks.
We estimate we lost between 25 and 50% of all the egrets in 1 week.
Thankfully, Hunter Water turned on the taps.
Having seen the footage in the last few days, and it was obviously desperate, and it's just so thrilling to see that we've been able to play a small part in making a difference here.
It's a golden band-aid. We couldn't buy the water. Hunter Water came to the rescue just at the right time.
It's hoped the 3 million litre donation will last until at least autumn.
For staff here at the Wetlands Centre, the donation comes as a huge relief, even if it's only a stopgap solution.
And while Hunter Water's donation was certainly the largest, locals also stepped up.
Well, the people of Shortland came to the egrets rescue. They came out with buckets and kids' play pens and ice cream bowls, all full of water.
John Dale and his granddaughter Wendy were two such good Samaritans, visiting every day, and between them they saved more than 20 abandoned chicks. Jacinta Lee, NBN News.
Rodriguez had only been on the field for a few minutes when he felt the full force of Jacob Pepper's tackle.
And he's been hobbling ever since. He can't train today, and we were very keen for him to have a full week of training so that he'd be available from the start next weekend. We don't even know if he'll be available now.
Pepper has reportedly apologised for a rush of blood that's left the Argentine's ankle black and blue.
It's a contusion on the ankle. He was very lucky because he unweighted quickly, but he still got caught. If he had had more weight on that ankle, it would have been a broken ankle for sure. I mean, these are the tackles that we're trying to get rid of.
None of the match officials saw a problem with the incident on Friday night, but Merrick has alerted referees boss Ben Wilson, hoping further action will be taken.
This is the situation where the review panel is supposed to look at games for things that the referee missed.
Keeper Glenn Moss is also nursing an injury.
He's got a bit of a hip flexor soreness this morning, so we're just taking it easy with Glenn.
But is expected to be ready to face his former club on Saturday at McDonald Jones Stadium. Ben Kantarovski is on target to return from a back problem, while Mario Chabot looks to have overcome a slight hamstring tear. Despite the Phoenix sitting last on the A-League ladder, their old coach believes they can make the finals.
Phoenix are going to be a very tough team now that they've signed Nathan Burns. They've brought in Luic in the middle. They're all playing together a lot better. Krishna's firing up front as well. So there's no easy games. It'll be a real tough one, completely different from the first match we played them.
Overseas and fellow Jets Riley McGree and Joey Champness featured in Australia's 1-0 loss to Vietnam at the AFC Under-23 Championship. Making his national team debut, Champness made a valuable contribution before being substituted in the 74th minute. Australia must now secure a result against Korea Republic on Wednesday night to advance to the quarter-finals.
Keeping a bedside vigil, this family know just how lucky they are.
We're still in shock, but we're just absolutely over the moon that, we found him and he's alive. That's the most important thing. He's not in a good way, but he's very stable. So they're happy with him, so we'll just take every day as it comes.
Tony's son Sam was driving home on Sunday morning after a night out, but never made it. Reported missing to the police, many thought the 17-year-old had simply run away, but her father's intuition told him something wasn't right.
Samuel's just a good kid, doesn't he might drink a tiny little bit, but he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, and, just got a real level head on him.
Believing the P-plater may have crashed his car, the family took matters into their own hands, hiring a private helicopter.
A few years ago, a gentleman down the road from my place did the same thing, and they didn't find him for 5 days, no marks leading off the road, so no one knew he was down there, and that stuck in my head.
No one wants to have their kids missing, and he asked us if we could help, and we were happy to do so. From the air, the wreckage was very obvious. It took us probably about 10 minutes once we were airborne.
Trapped in his car for close to 30 hours, a delicate rescue operation began as his family rushed to the scene.
And the first thing he said to me, "I'd love a drink."
An incredible tale of survival and of one family's tenacity.
I'd have to say it is just a dead set miracle. Without the helicopter, we would never have found him, and talking to the doctors, he wouldn't have lasted much longer. Big thank you to everybody, especially Lee, the helicopter pilot.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
It's been more than 2 weeks since Newcastle man Jaden Penno-Thompson was last seen on his way up to Cairns for New Year's Eve celebrations with mates. These pictures, his last known whereabouts, a roadhouse on the Flinders Highway at Charters Towers. The search has been bolstered. 20 police and more than 50 SES and RFS volunteers are scouring 85 square kilometres of bush.
It is very conceivable that someone could wander around and live on water for an extended period of time. So we're going to physically visit every known water hole in this geographical location.
But that doesn't seem right to Jaden's mother, Rachel Penno, who's joined the search.
I know he wouldn't be able to survive without assistance, you know. Like, I know he wouldn't be able to survive out here, especially in Scotland. It gets that hot out here and there's nothing, you know. I just don't believe that he's just taken off into the bush. I don't believe that.
They're searching through really difficult environment. It's just hell for her.
Back in Newcastle, his auntie Karen Bodle is appealing for information.
There's got to be somebody that last saw him, and it just doesn't make sense. If anybody could just come forward.
A GoFundMe page has been set up to help the family search for Jaden. Georgia Ma, NBN News.
First it was the wind, then overnight the swell arrived. Wild waves, 5 metres and bigger, marched into the coast.
The swell has been absolutely monstrous. This is the first low of the year, but it's also the first low of the summer. It's been very quiet times.
There was nothing for surfers, except at Newcastle's worst-kept secret spot. A few bodyboarders made the most of that early this morning. Further inside the harbour, waves were even rideable at Horseshoe Beach. There was even less for swimmers. Merewether and Newcastle bars almost non-existent. So too were the beaches. Erosion-prone areas hit hard. Stockton Beach was closed off from the public. The tracks along the water were washed away. Last week, lifeguards performed an astounding 84 rescues at Redhead Beach. Today, they were given a much-needed rest. But while the wind will begin to ease and the sun return over the next few days, tricky conditions will remain.
If there are waves, there are rips. The larger the waves are, the larger the rips are. We don't know what the banks are actually going to be like after this swell. Main thing to do is swim at patrolled areas, look for those red and yellow flags, and definitely listen to the lifeguards' instructions.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
It could be mistaken for a side street in Italy, but in a garage in Buchanan Street, Merewether, a young man is tinkering away. His coffee cart, handmade from an old kitchen cabinet, a pallet and bicycle, is rolled out for neighbourhood business.
Inside we've got one coffee machine, 2 milk frothers, a fridge, a water heater and a water tank.
Every detail has been thought of by Dante Valentinus for Doro the Explorer, which is often parked near Dixon Park and Bar Beaches.
We do mainly all Italian desserts and we do coffees because that's just easiest, and when people are on their morning walks they just want to quickly come pick up a coffee.
Quite the business idea for a 15-year-old boy during school holidays.
I got bored and I needed to do something, so I already started building a bike trailer because I knew I wanted one, and I was like, well, this is pointless, what am I going to do with it? So when I got the kitchen cabinet I was like, hey, That'd be an awesome little coffee cart.
But late last week, Newcastle Council had to step in, saying while they applauded the young man's initiative, the cart needed to meet appropriate food standards. They met today to discuss the issue.
We do understand that there is requirements that he needs to comply to, but in the past when he has approached him, he hasn't had that success.
His father Eddie says it won't dampen his son's industrious nature.
I think it's self-inspired. He's always on the internet, but it's more for researching whatever his interests are.
Georgia Ma, NBN News. She registered just over 20 points and 10 rebounds per game this season and finished 5th in steals and blocks. But somehow Batkovic wasn't expecting to win her 5th MVP award.
I was surprised. I was shocked when I got the phone call. I think I was on antibiotics at that stage. I'd been sick, so I wasn't sure if I was delusional or what was going on. But no, definitely just a huge honour.
It's the second time the 37-year-old has been named Most Valuable Player 3 seasons in a row. But Susie has given a lot of the credit to her teammates and the Townsville organisation. She's keen to repay the Fire by beating the Melbourne Boomers in Game 2 of the Grand Final series on Thursday night.
Mate, I'm more than happy to give the MVP award back to get that championship. This is what we play for. We're chasing championships. We're a team sport.
Batkovic finished 13 votes clear of second-placed Liz Cambage in an award voted on by referees and coaches. Cambage top-scored for Melbourne in Game 1 on Saturday, but the Fire won the game by 5. The battle between the two Opals will be a big factor in deciding the Grand Final series.
For me, it's how you work together as a team to try and get that win, and she can have as many points as she wants as long as we're winning on the other side of that scoreboard.
Windy conditions didn't deter the Jets faithful who came to meet their heroes from the A-League and W-League sides. The men's team is coming off a gruelling schedule that saw them earn 7 points from 3 games in just 9 days.
We haven't been playing the best football, I don't think, in the last 2 games. So, when we look ahead to Saturday, we want to make sure we start strong and get back to playing, good quality football in the front third like we were a few weeks ago.
Jason Hoffman bagged the winner against Brisbane on Friday, his 3rd goal this season.
It's been nice, to be honest. It's been nice to play with a little bit more freedom in the front third. It's something that, as a fullback for the last few years, you get into good areas and sometimes, you don't get there enough.
He's hoping to unleash his unique goal celebration a few more times this season, but the meaning will remain private.
That's just a little personal message to my wife and my little baby at home, that's all.
Pato Rodriguez continues to recover from a dangerous tackle that went unpunished in the clash with the Raw. He and Ben Kandarovski trained well this morning and both will see some game time against the Phoenix on Saturday. Meanwhile, injured import Ronald Vargas missed today's clinic as he prepared for his first training session on the pitch since suffering a broken ankle in October.
These residents aren't the only ones making waves. Following days of strong winds and destructive seas, close to 10,000 cubic metres of sand washed away from Jimmy's Beach.
Absolutely devastating. It's been like an open surf, basically. So it's just been rolling wave after wave after wave.
Following the devastation of the 2015 storms, Mid Coast Council installed a gravel, cement and sand foundation underneath the boulevard. But residents fear recent damage has left it so exposed the road could collapse once again.
If we get through today, I think it will be a saviour.
With tons of sand being blown from the shore, the focus now turns to erosion proofing the strip. Council says it's deciding whether the renourishment program should continue or if a sand shifter could be purchased.
It's a band-aid action, and all of this is going to reoccur and reoccur. The erosion we've seen today is not going to go away just by sand renourishment.
More sand will be dumped in the coming weeks as an emergency measure. Samantha Long, NBN News.
Whether it was back then or now, most Novocastrians would have squeezed into a live music venue in town. But with Newcastle's construction boom comes fears the music scene will be left behind.
We've got the Cambridge, the Lass, the Wicker, are pretty much the last ones left. Now, if they go, I ask you, what replaces that?
The Cambridge Hotel is up for sale, the land likely to be snapped up by a residential developer. The Lass is almost surrounded by new apartments in booming Wickham. And not far down the road, the Wicko has a noise curfew from 8 p.m. on the weekend. Grant Wormsley and Marcus Wright believe music venues will slowly be kicked out, with nowhere for budding musicians to learn their craft or earn a crust.
The onus needs to be with developers to soundproof against live music that's already established, not the other way around.
I'd like to see a group of people come together from both sides. The council need to be involved, the developers need to be involved, venues and musicians.
And talk they will. Newcastle City Councillor Carol Duncan will be one of many attending a Labor-run roundtable in February to discuss the industry's future.
We need to talk to each other. We need to understand what we can do, what we can't do. And I don't want to see a sterile city. We are just starting to come alive now.
Time is ticking, and if it goes, it's gone. It's not replaceable.
Georgia Ma, NBN News.
We've learnt from the first year's experience. Well, as soon as the race is finished, we'll have all the traffic calming devices on hand to put them straight back in and return the road to a vehicle road as opposed to a race car track.
Transformed into Daredevil Central, scooter riders rolling up, down and all around Wheeler Place.
Kids are out in the sunshine, they're having a ball, they're in a safe area, and as I said, parents can get a little bit of respite and watch while the kids entertain themselves for a change.
Good coffee on the sideline?
Yeah, and great coffee and great food.
As parents watch on from the sideline, kids can choose from lessons, comps or just run wild on the course. The skate and scoot event proving a boost for local business and for the sport in general.
Advice is priceless. Got so many kids ride the wrong sides, which means they can fall off, and we cut their bars down and customise the scooters to their size as well.
It's the second time the event has been held at Wheeler Place, and already organisers are looking ahead to next year.
We'll have a rolling series of things that work, but we want to make sure we're doing something for everyone, not just the kids.
For those concerned about the lack of parking,
Council's running the park and ride from McDonald Jones Stadium. We've still got the bus services are operating, and you can still get the train up to the West End to Honeysuckle.
skaters and scooters can drop in from 9 until late on Thursday and Friday. Georgia Ma, NBN News.
The first session in a new era for the Toronto Cricket Club.
I think it's groundbreaking. I think we're leading the way.
Months in the making, the partnership is far from just a token gesture. For Manly, it creates a pathway to the best emerging talent under a player-sharing deal, which in the past included Jason Sanger. For Toronto, the benefits are endless. Not only will they also use some of their players, like in the Summer Bash, they'll also host Manly's first grade squad for their pre-season camp, and most crucially, they'll be able to use Manly's playing and coaching expertise in their junior academy. That includes a weekend camp where former Australian Test player Steve O'Keefe, Sydney Thunder spearhead Chris Green and his teammate Jay Lenton, among others, will work with local juniors.
They're taking it very seriously. They're not sending up B teams and they're not sending up their also-rens. They're sending up their key players and their key figureheads to make this work.
You don't necessarily have to get specific coaching from them, but just listening to stories they've had or experiences they've got, it's only going to make you a better player, and usually a bit of motivation to try and take that next step.
And for those players who do make the next step,
it's really daunting if you're going down to Sydney and you're not really, you don't know anyone down there, or you've got to try and get your foot in the door somehow. But if we can provide that opportunity for guys from our club, then it's just going to make it so much easier for them.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
To be honest, right now there isn't anything in the world that matches what this circuit's going to offer, from the technology of the sport to also the type of racing we're going to do. Part of this circuit is about getting more people into the sport. I remember as a kid, 10 years old, watching the 18-foot skiffs on TV, really wanting to aspire to do that, and by the time I got old enough, the circuit had died down.
For these three families, the shake-up of Newcastle's transport system has made getting around far from easy. All have children with intellectual disabilities who use public transport on a daily basis. Before this week's changes, David's daughter Jodie would catch Route 111 from Charlestown to her workplace in Lambton and back every day. Now she has to catch 3 separate connections. Unable to do this independently, David says Jodie has had to resign.
Unless you reinforce it very strongly, she would still go out there ready to catch a bus of a morning, because that's what she's known, that's what she's been used to.
It's a similar story for Shirley's son Joshua. An extra connection each day is adding an hour and a half of travel time.
Our choice now is that he has to start work later in the morning, and he's going to have to finish work at 2 o'clock to get home at the same time as he currently does.
People should not have to
lose financially or socially because of what's happening with the bus timetables.
The state government says both Keyless Downer and the government are taking all feedback on board, but it's urging commuters to allow time to adjust to the new system. Samantha Long, NBN News. Technology, it's both a blessing and a curse. From Facebook, Instagram to Snapchat, children are logged in and switched on 24/7. But as these kids are all too aware, there can be a nasty side to the online world.
It can hurt other people's feelings and they might not like it.
Yeah, I've personally been bullied myself and that's really put me down, and my friends have been bullied too.
Once they shut that gate, it's still happening. They actually can't turn social media off. And so it's with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's constant.
Life Education has found more than a quarter of students aged between 13 and 17 experience bullying, either in person or online. It wants to take things back a step and help primary school children build respectful relationships from an early age. The key, learning how to manage disagreements and how to be empathetic. It's hoped the lessons will go beyond the screen, whilst stopping the keyboard warriors.
You shouldn't put rude comments about a photo or video that they've posted, and that you should always post positive comments or nice things about other people.
If you or anyone you know needs support, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. Samantha Long, NBN News.
Any additional resource that we can put out there to ensure that our swimmers are safe is certainly a benefit to everybody, lifeguards included.
His likely reserve grade halves partner is gone to the Dogs, but Brock Lamb is yet to decide his future.
There's plenty of people asking, but like I said, mate, I'm contracted for this year and I've said it to a lot of people, but all I can do is train hard and just work on myself, and everything will work itself out.
Canterbury is campaigning for Cogger to be given an early release. His departure a flow-on effect from Mitchell Pearce's arrival.
It is a shame, mate, but it's a massive opportunity for him. Obviously he can go there and hopefully he can have a number 7 spot there and start to his career, I guess, in runner side. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him play next year, but at the moment we've just got a job to do here.
That's what Lamb is doing, ignoring the constant speculation about whether he'll stay in Newcastle. It's likely he will get a chance to impress and partner Pearce in the halves in their trial match against the Eels in his hometown of Maitland.
Well, that's my goal anyway. I want to play first grade, so hopefully I'm in the side, and I'm going to do everything I can to be in the side.
For now though, Pearce continues to build his pairing with Connor Watson.
Yeah, it's good. Pre-season's all about building combinations, and it's been good. We're working really hard at the moment.
Last weekend, Watson and Lamb, along with Sione Mataudia and Daniel Saifidi, were at the Emerging Blues Origin Camp.
The calibre of players down there was, it's pretty exceptional.
Full of praise for new coach Brad Fittler.
When we were doing the under-20s Origin camps, he was always there running them. So I have had a bit to do with Freddie over the past couple of years, but it's awesome to see him in there now. I think just his passion for the Blues and just how badly he wants the state to be successful, and I think it's only going to be good for us.
yeah, kind of had to push a bit today and just claw a little bit back, and it's cool to get a stage win, which is, yeah, I hadn't done this year so far.
Entries for the men's and women's main events close on January 22, but organisers have already been inundated with applications.
What we're doing now is proving that we're doing it correctly, and we're providing a platform for our younger surfers to come through, and also to attract the best surfers around the world.
Tyler Wright headlines a women's field that will include Sally Fitzgibbons, new mum Alana Blanchard and local Philippa Anderson. Corlette's Ellie Clayton-Brown will compete in the Cadet Cup, the Pro Junior and QS 6000, hoping to gain valuable experience.
Just so sick to be out in the water with them and watch them surf and just see how they approach everything. Yeah, it's really inspirational, it just makes me want to surf better.
Matt Wilkinson and Owen Wright will be joined by 2015 runner-up Jack Freestone in the men's division. Merriweather's Ryan Callanan and Jackson Baker will represent the locals, hoping to make a solid start to the qualifying series.
Good for Surffest to have those big names. For me, it makes life a bit harder, but I mean, it's really cool. Like having a local event, QS 6000 men's and women's, and especially for me, leading into the year, 6000 is massive.
Organisers today unveiled a new contest to be held at Merriweather on February 13 and 14.
The James Brothers Longboard Classic is a WSL QS 1000 event. We've got Taylor Jensen, dual world champion, multiple Australian champion coming for that.
Surfest officially gets underway this weekend at Redhead with the richest stand-up paddleboard events in Australia. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
Given what Lucas Chapman has been through for the past 3 months, land has never felt so good.
It's perfect time to get some rest and recovery. Certainly needed after that last leg.
45,000 nautical miles, crossing 4 oceans, touching 6 continents. The Volvo Ocean Race circles the world.
This is kind of the pinnacle of ocean sailing. It's pretty tough to put into words actually, but I think one word to describe it is intense, and also it's extreme. Like, it is life at the extreme. This race is probably arguably the toughest sporting event there is in the world.
It's hard to argue. On board Team Clean Seas, Chapman has already sailed from Lisbon to Cape Town and to Melbourne, battling the elements, working through the night, eating rations and facing situations like this.
A lot of the time you are hanging on for dear life, but I think that's a part of the attraction, you know.
He's on his rest leg while his team sails to Hong Kong, still checking the live tracking every morning. He can't wait to get back.
Race veterans Peter Blake once said that you kind of despise it and you hate it when you're there, but it's one of those things that gets in your blood and you just can't get rid of it. My dad's been sailing for years. I've been pushed into the water since before I could walk, so I think it's just in my blood.
For every wave rolling in, Stockton Beach is slipping away.
I think this is the worst we've seen it.
Days of huge waves have taken its toll. Nearly 3 metres of the coastline has been washed away. Now the Mission Australia preschool has been forced to close. Council is calling for action, and fast.
We're not going to have a solution in place this year, so what we're looking at, are there temporary measures that we can put in place?
It's calling for the state government to step up and the Office of Environment and Heritage to come to the table.
The port is causing the problem. The breakwater is stopping the southern flow of sand.
Resident Keith Craig says if the breakwall is part of the problem, its users should be part of the solution.
We could just put 1 cent on every tonne of coal leaving the port within a year that raised $2 million.
But the tide has revealed an important slice of Newcastle's history, a wall erected in 1942 to stop Japanese invasion.
When a tank came up the beach, it would hit one of these concrete blocks, lift the tank up and render it inoperable.
Georgia Ma, NBN News.
In its 95-year history, it's been home to many humble heroes. And today, some of them watched on as their beloved Nobby Surf Club entered a new chapter.
Can't put words to it. It's just something we've wanted for years and years and years.
They've done a great job.
A long-awaited upgrade to the inside of Nobby's pavilion.
The facilities for our younger members, particularly our female members, weren't up to scratch.
Gone are the old change rooms, now stands 12 new toilets.
We've made those toilets ambulance accessible and larger so they double as a change room.
But for beachgoers, it's raised some eyebrows.
There's no way it will get changed.
Council's confident the next stage will be better received, with the area around the lifeguard tower set to be transformed from this to this.
Stage 2 involves a disabled ramp as well as a parents' change room and also a disabled change room facility.
12 new showers will also be built. Work will begin in March. Talia Sav, NBN News.
Relief for the Jets and their fans. Pato Rodriguez in full flight, cleared to face Wellington. NBN News understands he won't play a full 90 minutes. It's likely he'll again come off the bench.
You could imagine on a long trip from South America to here, the first thing you want to do is hit the ground running and start playing. So he's doing well. He's obviously shown what he's about, and he's going to keep showing that.
While the Jets train today, it's Ollie Roos trio were on their way home. Joey Chamness will also play some role against the Phoenix. Nick Cowburn and Riley McGree will be rested.
Obviously, it's unfortunate that the Ollie Roos didn't make it, through to the next round, but those players are vital to our team. Their depth and it's just, a massive boost for us to get them back.
Wellington have their own inclusions. Nathan Burns and Martia Lubic have impressed since signing this month. Despite sitting last on the ladder, the Phoenix are still playing solid football.
To come up against them after they've had a good run of form is going to be a tough challenge for us, but we're ready and we're up for anything.
To be honest, I'm pretty chilled about it. I think the fact that it's at home relaxes things a bit for me. I'm a little bit more experienced now, so I do have high expectations, I guess, and I just want to keep running fast, really.